Good evening, everyone. So, today is the first day of a discussion on my book, The Learning Curve. My name is Roger Arnold, and I'm the writer of this so-called book, The Learning Curve. So, I'm going to break this lecture, or whatever you want to call it, relating to my book, The Learning Curve, into three parts. So, part 1 is today, which is the 22nd. Part 2 will be on the 25th. And part 3 will be on the 28th of June 2020. So, since it's divided into three distinctive parts, today I'll be focusing on the first part and then follow up with the second and the third. Now, the main reason for this video and to make it into a three-part video is that I want people to be more aware. There are many people who are asking me, what is this book actually about? Why should we buy this book? What is the importance of this book? What does it actually teach people all over? Whether you talk about in Dhaka or in Chittagong or in Rajshahi or in Sylhet, all over Bangladesh, maybe even in other countries too. You never know. Gradually it will start to spread, hopefully, with your prayers and with your love and with your connection, also with your trust on my book and the way I have written this book. Now, this book started off as nothing, I would say, because actually, to say the truth, I never ever had a plan of writing this book or deciding on coming up with a situation relating to this book or whatever this book is all about. But I've decided to go on talking about it because I've seen a lot of people, mainly my students or even students' friends, they ask them about this book and they're not really sure what is this book all about. So I've decided to make it on a three-part journey of this book. So the first part will be today, part 1, then I'll have the part 2, and then I will have the part 3 in 3 different days. So I'm going to start today with giving you the introduction of what the learning curve is all about, why I have given the title, what is the catchphrase, and what is the basic idea about this full book. So what does it actually comprise of? That is what today is going to be about. The second part will be about more related to the essays and the introduction to essays, mostly those two, and I will also talk a little about the formal and the informal letters, as in give a basic idea about that. The third part will talk about report, articles, speech, leaflet, account, and there will be a conclusion. So basically the third part is where the lecture will tend to be a little long, because that is like trying to create a kind of a lasting impression. So that's the reason why that will be a little bit lengthy. Anyway, so let's begin. So today I'll start by introducing the book, which you already know is called The Learning Curve. Now, why do I call this book The Learning Curve? Okay, so learning, we all know what learning is all about. Learning is a process. From the time we enter into this world, we start learning. We start to, like when we are infants, for example, we start learning the basic ideas, the basic things. We start looking around, like when we are an infant, when we first start to open our eyes to look at this magnificent and beautiful world, we first witness what this world is all about. We start to open our eyes, and then gradually we look at things all around us, and then slowly, bit by bit, we start to understand about each thing, and we get to know a lot about each thing. So it's all about the years. So as we say, the saying goes, the first 5 years of a child is very important. So the first 5 years is when they start to get to know a lot. They start to learn. They learn to look. They learn to understand. They learn to talk probably a few words. They learn to crawl. Then eventually they walk. Then gradually they start to understand each phase of their lives, why they are actually in this world, what is the importance of their lives. They start knowing who their mom is, who their dad is, if they have any other siblings, a brother or a sister, or maybe more than one brother and one sister. So then they tend to know gradually, slowly. That is the learning process. So the reason for me to give the second word, as in the learning curve, the second word is all about learning. I want I want people to understand that learning, what is it all about. And since this book is especially for youngsters, where you call it teenagers, maybe even people in their early 20s, because we gradually learn. We are never old to learn. We are never too old to learn. We will learn at any time. Any process, any method teaches us something. Anyway, so that is why it's called learning. Curve here, when I say the word curve, I'm trying to say that it's how it is going on. It's a process. The curve here means the process, how we move from one stage to another stage. It's like a stepping stone or a stepping ladder, or like a ladder. So it's like gradually from the baby steps, then we go higher and higher and higher. So it's like, suppose we start from our junior section, as in class 1 to class 5 or whatever you call it, play group, lower shishu even, before that. Kindergarten in one word we may call it, and then we move to grade 1 to grade 5, which is normally primary, then 6 to 10, which is secondary, then we move to our O-levels or A-levels, and eventually A-levels, and then university or whatever we plan to do, and then we go on with our lives. So it's like a curve. It's how we move on with our lives. In the same way, this book is also about each phase, each aspect. Whether you talk about introduction to essay, we talk about letter, we talk about article, we talk about report, we talk about essays, narrative, descriptive, doesn't matter. So we're talking about all these important aspects or features that we need to carry out accordingly. So that is the learning curve. The you might call it. Why did I put an article here? You may ask. The learning curve, because I'm trying to say that the learning curve, the, or you can call it the, some people call it the, some people refer to it as the. So the or the signifies what this is about, and it's specifying something. The learning curve or the learning curve is something about what is the importance of education and what is the importance of our different ways of understanding each feature or each distinct criterion or criteria that we need to know. So that is the learning curve. So that is what this book starts off as, and that's what we get to know gradually, basically. That's a basic idea about what this book tends to be. Then I move on, and then I used a one-liner: an appropriate understanding of a student allows an assured result. So here I'm trying to signify something. An appropriate understanding of a student allows an assured result. So I'm trying to say that this one-liner is trying to explain that what this phase, as in the learning curve, what is actually showcasing or what is actually signifying. So I'm going like an appropriate understanding of a student allows an assured result. So once we understand our students, once we know what their criteria, everyone cannot be the same. Each person is of a different, you can call it species, or you can call it different ideas. They all have different ideas, different aspects, different ways of dealing with each situation. Everyone's brain is not equal. As we know, all 5 fingers are not the same. So in that sense, we're getting to know that. An appropriate understanding. So we have to understand each student accordingly. Everyone will not be the same. So according to that, we have to understand, and then we have to work with each student accordingly. So an appropriate understanding of a student allows an assured result. So once you understand each student properly, you know what their criteria is, or what their basic ideas are, or what you need to work on with them accordingly, then you will eventually get an assured result. That means it's not necessary that they have to get full marks or they have to stand first in class. No. The main thing is they have to understand that aspect, they have to understand the subject material, and they have to understand the situation. Then eventually they will see that whatever they're doing in life, or whatever or however they're progressing in life, will turn out to be fruitful for them. So that is the main idea about this. And then if you look at this, it's written in bold: a guide to essays and directed writing. Essays, now here essays signifies, for all of us we have narrative, we have descriptive, we have discursive, and we have argumentative. So these are the 4 types of essays. Whether it's in O-levels, it doesn't matter actually. It doesn't have to be only in O-levels. It can be in A-levels, it can be in university level, it can be in grade 8, grade 7, grade 6 even. So this book is especially starting from grade 6 onwards, I would say, because below that we normally don't tend to learn essays or letters and whatever that is included in this book. Gradually we learn about these things. So that is that. So then we get to know a guide to essays. So as I've already said, the type of essays, and directed writing. also mentioned, which are formal letter, informal letter, report, article, speech, leaflet, account. And then if you look below this book, you will notice, to expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. Someone might ask me, why did I select this line? Why did I select this specific line? Well, to begin with, I have selected this line because in life, whenever we read something or whenever we go through any kind of phase, whether you call it a topic, whether you call it a subject, whether you talk about an idea, whatever it is, you will get to know each thing according to the way you are expecting. So sometimes you expect it, sometimes you do not expect it. So expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. So it's something like, say, for example, I have a topic, or whoever has a topic. And once they have that topic, they don't really know what to expect from the topic, but they make it their own. And then they try to understand it, and then they try to explain it, and that's how they get to know what the topic is all about. Then it also clearly makes their minds more fresh, and they are more energetic, which gives them more space or more ideas to develop whatever they feel like developing. So that is what this is about. And then if you look at the first page, you will see there's an introduction on the book. I'm not going to read the full thing, don't worry. But as you purchase it, you will get to know. Learning Curve by Roger and Arnold. And then I have given an introduction based on what this book is all about. So it's like a basic idea about what this book entails. So let me just tell you, since I'm not going to read that full thing, so I'll just tell you what it is about. So you have 80 introductions to essays. So there are 80 different topics, and it's just introduction to essay. Now the reason for me to give introduction to essay is because students, they tend to get confused. They don't really know how to start at times, how to start an essay, how to begin something. Always the beginning is difficult. So just to give them a head start, and since many students also told me we don't know how to start this topic, we don't know how to start this essay, so that's the reason why I have included 80 introductions to essays, so that the students might get familiar and gradually they will learn. So that's the learning curve again. So that's gradually was what they're learning accordingly. So once they get to know each aspect, it'll be more easier for them. And later on, after the 80 introductions to essays, I have written 20 full-length essays. So the 20 full-length essays are varying from each topic, whether it's narrative, descriptive, discursive, or argumentative. So it could be any type of topic based on these four, and when you go through it, you will see each essay is above 400 words. 400 could be 450, could be 500, so it's according to that. So these topics will allow you to understand what is actually important and how you need to focus on each topic accordingly. So as you go through the book, you will be more clear. So for your ease, you can say, to make it more easier for you all, I have actually made a content area, a content part in the beginning. So if you see, this is the first part of the book where I gave an introduction on what the book is all about, and then I've given the contents. So these are the 80 different topics, essay topics. I'm going to mention all the names so that you get familiar with it, and there are 20 full-length essays, which I will also get through it. So these are what the book is based on, and then eventually we have all the directed writing. Gradually we will go through the directed writing topics, but for now we try to understand these things. So now, as I've already mentioned, that is what this book is all about. And at the back, if you look at the back cover, you will see another phrase, or you can call it a quotation, or maybe even an idiom. So this is created by me. Imagining the unimaginable requires immense understanding of an image that is unbelievably believable. So imagining the unimaginable. Things that cannot be imagined, they are unimaginable. It's very difficult to think about. So once you start to think about different aspects, different situations, different issues, we see that our level of understanding starts to widen. It starts to broaden, makes it more makes us feel more at ease. So imagining the unimaginable requires immense understanding of an image that is unbelievably believable. So immense understanding of an image. So you have to really go deep into it, become creative, become imaginative, think out of the box. So immense understanding of an image that is unbelievably believable. So the main idea or the main aspect about this is that the more you think, the better you develop, and the more thoughtful you become, and gradually you're starting to improve yourself. So you see that your ideas start to broaden, your mind starts to open up, you start expressing your sixth sense. We normally call it the transcendental sense. So you start expressing that sixth sense, and then you feel like things are much more easier to understand. Anybody gives you any sort of topic to write on, you can probably write it with ease, as you can explore the depths of your mind. That's very important. So that is the main thing about this. Imagining the unimaginable requires immense understanding of an image that is unbelievably believable. So we don't know what to expect, but we still go forward with it. Sometimes we are forced to, and sometimes we are not. But whenever we are forced to do it, we have to do it. We don't have a choice. So you always have to think about, whenever you go through a kind of a process, or whenever you go through a topic, you have to think this is your last resort. There's no other opportunity. There are no second chances. So you have to think that this is your only opportunity, and you don't have any other choices. You have to go with the flow. You have to go with that situation, and according to that, if you follow that situation accordingly, you will see that your capabilities are increasing and you're being more fruitful, and you'll see your mind is starting to broaden. So that's what actually happens. So many people have actually asked me, because I have told them that I haven't been a very good student growing up. So they are like, then how did you explore? How did you improve yourself? How did you start to master each thing? I just told them one thing. Firstly, I told them that I don't like memorizing. And secondly, I told them that I just think in different ways. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I could have done this situation or this aspect in a different way, or this feature? What if it was like that? So I start questioning myself. I start questioning people around me. Some people even get fed up of me. I've seen a lot of cases like that, but I don't blame them, because my mind is like that, so I cannot help it. Anyway, so as I've already said, I haven't been a very bright student. In fact, a very weak student, I would say. But I started to explore myself. I started to think, what can I do? How can I expand my ideas? How can I broaden my ideas? What can I do to increase my capabilities, or to increase my hunger for success? Here, success to me is talking about exploring my mind, becoming more imaginative, becoming more creative, starting to create a kind of a picture in my mind. So picture is a kind of a word which I have actually created, and I kind of utilize that word in almost every aspect, even if I don't mention it, but it's always there in some part of my head. So normally when we see the word picture, we say, when you look at a picture, we see different aspects. Each person sees it in a different way, like an artist. So we see different, if you look at Pablo Picasso's art, for example, it's very complicated. You will not even understand it very easily. But if you go deep into it, you try to understand the depths of it, you will see that, wow, this is something. This is something great. This is something very special. So that is what I've tried to do, and that is why I created this word called picture. So to me, picture is all about the Picture. It stands for something to me. So when I say the alphabet as P, the P stands for personality. Personality is like our personality, our emotions, our feelings, how we expressing ourselves. Then I talk about imagination, or you can also talk about innovation. So your thought process, that is imagination or innovation. And then I talk about C, which is the creativity. Creativity is all about our thought process, how we are thinking, how we are expanding, how we are broadening our horizons. T is all about the theme. That means, in this sense, the topic area. What is it actually talking about? That's the theme. U is the understanding. My level of understanding will not be another person's level of understanding, and so on. So that's the U. R is the realization. Now, this realization works in different ways. The way I realize something it could be the other person might not take it in the same way, or might actually have a different aspect about it. That is the realization. And eventually the E, which is the emotion. Emotion is all about our happiness, our sadness, our anger, our depression, our frustration, and so on. So these are the different aspects, or these are the different things that we actually talk about, or do we actually start to focus on in our lives. That is what the picture is all about to me. Anyway, so enough of that. I'll get back again to this situation. So the learning curve, as I've already said, is a book that I've been working on since, it's probably almost 2 years that I've been working on it, because last year in June I actually launched it. You can say somewhat in May, but I would say June, because eventually it started reaching people in June. So June is actually the month I would say that it actually started. So which it makes it actually 1 year now, since this is also June. So that was last year. And a year before that, I started working on it gradually. Well, actually, I had already a few topics before that, like say, for example, 4 or 5 years before 2019, or you say 2018, gradually. But I never ever thought about making those topics into a book until last year, and then gradually I decided that this is what I should do. So I was not really sure about what price I should charge for this book, but then eventually I stuck to keeping it to 1,000. But then gradually I started to decrease, because I thought that my main idea is not the profit, which I never ever thought about. The main idea is to reach as much audience as I can. That is my main aspect. That is what I want. I wanted to, in fact, I am more happier to reach this book to millions of people rather than getting or receiving a profit out of this book. Even if I suffer a loss on this book, it actually doesn't matter. Initially, it doesn't matter, because the main thing is, even if I suffer a loss and I see that people are actually buying the book, or it's actually reaching from 10 people is moving to 20 people, and then to 50, and then to 100, that is my ultimate satisfaction, because eventually what I have done is reaching audience, reaching people to the maximum level. That is what I want to do, and that is what I aim to do. So then I thought about it, and then I made it into 800. Then I also decided, like, it's probably still too much for youngsters to purchase this book, and now so I moved it to a 50% discount. So basically from 1,000 in the beginning, it's actually now 500, and at the moment it's available at Boy Bichitra in Mag Bazaar. But eventually I will also introduce in Boy Bichitra the Bonani branch, and gradually it will move to schools. So there are many different targets. I'm already working on it actually. So like Scholastica, for example, Sir John Wilson, AG Church School, Vision Global School, and so on, and maybe even DPS, Delhi Public School, and some other ones also. So gradually, so trying to reach to all the big schools, Sunbeams even. So trying to reach to all the big schools as much as possible, because once those schools start to recognize everything, or recognize what this book is all about, why it is important, that will be my biggest achievement, reaching people as much as I can, and that even reaching people in the maximum level, or in the utmost respectable way, on the respectable manner. So that is what I aim on doing with this book. So far it's been 1 year. I am thankful to the Almighty that this book has actually passed a year, and it still has much more to offer. I know it does. I'm never going to give up on this book. In fact, like now I've introduced this book. Yes, I spent a lot on this book. I made 300 copies out of this. I probably sold around 60 to 80 copies so far, but it doesn't matter, because eventually my plan is probably by this December I'll be done by selling all my 300 copies, and that I'm sure I can, because I know that people will. I'm sure a lot of people already love this book, or they actually have a certain craze towards this book, but I know gradually it will reach more people. It will try to capture the audience at a higher ground, or at a higher level, and that will actually be my ultimate satisfaction, ultimate goal of this book. So once this 300 copies, as I've already mentioned, is sold out, then I will start another version of the same book, but I'll try to make sure that my costing, or that my overall costing of the books, are at the lowest level possible, so that more people can actually purchase this book, and probably at a even more reasonable cost than what it is now. Even with a 50% discount, it's, for some people it might be a little high, but you have to think about the content of the book. So that's the reason why I've decided that now I'll carry it on in this way, but eventually when I start a new version of the same learning curve book, I will try to make it more cost effective, so more reasonable for the audience, for those who want to read it but cannot read it, or feel like it's too expensive for them to actually purchase the book. So for them and for everyone else, I'm trying to make sure that it actually reaches them in the best possible way, or in a way that will actually satisfy their hunger of earning or achieving a book called The Learning Curve. So as I've already said, this is just an introduction part of my book for today. The second part of my book will be based on the essays, introduction to essays, formal and informal letter, and the third part will talk about report, article, speech, leaflet, account, and also I'll be giving a concluding point relating to my book. Till then, I hope everyone stays safe. Take care of yourselves, love one another, support each other. Don't forget, during this pandemic situation, all we have is our loved ones. We have to trust each other. We have to spread love as much as possible. We have to understand each other in a better, or in a cohesive manner, so that we can actually work together as a team and actually develop ourselves according to each situation, or according to each aspect. So the more we understand each thing, or the more we develop ourselves, the better we will turn to become as human beings. So that's it for today. I'll leave you with a thought on this book, The Learning Curve. So the line that I would like to mention relating to this book is: imagining the unimaginable requires immense understanding of an image that is unbelievably believable. So keep that in your mind. The more you imagine, the more you explore your ideas, the more you can think deeply, you can understand your ideas, you can actually express yourself in the best possible way, be more creative, be more imaginative, try to understand every aspect gradually. Everything takes time. You cannot master everything in one day. You cannot learn things in a short span of your life. You have to learn accordingly, according to each age, according to each aspect, according to each criteria. So we have to know each thing gradually, and then eventually we'll see that we can turn out to become better human beings. So that's what this book is also hoping to reach more people and turn them into better human beings, in a sense that they become more creative and more imaginative and understand each aspect accordingly. So that's it for today. As usual, make sure you take care of the safety precautions, whatever you have to do accordingly, just in order to stay safe and stay together, love one another, as I've already mentioned. And this is me, Roger Ian Arnold, signing off. Peace.